Alright guys, let's play some more Legacy on the channel. Today I have a sweet deck lined up. I have black, red, mid-range, aggro, whatever you want to call it. The core of this deck is basically going to be the discard spells, the removal spells, the 8 Goyfs, and then of course the Bowmasters, and then we have some spicy ones, Blast from the Past here, Dark Confidant, where hopefully if we stick that card, we should be in good shape against most decks. With Bowmaster stock being down, I think this card is quite good. Let's see if I'm right about that. Quad Voidwalkers, that's kind of a payoff for being base black these days, with the graveyard being so centric in Legacy. This is a big motivation for me to play this deck. This is part of a 10 deck deck dump, basically, that I did recently, an article in 2 parts, where I either build 75 from the bottom, I tweak existing decks, or, yeah, you know, just focus on the non-Reanimator decks of the format, how to properly respect Reanimator while also building a, I guess, serviceable deck against the field. So that's kind of the formula that I used for the Wizards deck that I trophied with on the channel. That's the same I used for the Cutter deck I trophied with on the channel recently. So same formula here. Couple of spell bombs here. We care about types in this deck with Nethergoyf and Baragoyf. So having a couple of spell bombs here is awesome. Let's imagine Reanimator does not exist, then I can run 4 baubles, and I would be obviously thrilled about that. I do play a triple Dark Ritual on top of my mana base, Wasteland mana base, with 1 Surveil and 2 duels. Ritual will let me double spell in the early game, where I can go something like discard spell, Dark Confidant, Voidwalker, discard spell. I can spike the Hymn to Torque, that would be awesome. So yeah, just a deck that's trying to be all-round. Let's see if we succeed with that. Sideboard wise, Fairy against Reanimator. This deck is good at putting on pressure, so Fairy is the best one. Hymn against controlling combo. Meltdown against, I guess, Ursa Saga decks. Price, awesome against lands. Mystic Forge, greedy control. Pyroblast against, you know, Murktide, Tameo, and the boys. Third Molten Collapse, simply for, you know, just having 1 more answer to Chalice of the Void, or 1 more answer to Big Fatty. And then Triple Null Rod, because New Tezzeret has made, you know, Mystic Forge the talk of the town these days. And maybe I play against some Painter, some Storm variants, and I will need the help against those combo decks, that's for sure. Let's take this deck for a spin, shall we? Alrighty, round 1 is upon us, and we do have a nice Dark Ritual double spell-ish opening. Spellbomb and Voidwalker. I guess we take that, and then if I spike a land next turn, I'm a champ. And if I don't, then I guess I just cycle the Spellbomb. But if my opponent gives me a creature to kill, I'll kill that and move on with my day. Basically, this hand probably needs to find a land by turn 3 in order to be competitive against the field. Let's see. I'm going to go for basic Swamp here. Cast Dark Ritual. I feel like I should lead on the Spellbomb in case I'm up against Reanimator and they have a force. Alright, so I successfully double spell turn 1. Lots of decks will just laugh at this and beat me. And lots of decks will be kind of scared. So a little bit of polarization here. Alright, Lightning Bolt on that card is very annoying. I'm probably playing against Corey or Classic Delver. So I think I'm supposed to pass the turn here. So either hold up Push or hold up End Step Crack Spellbomb. End Step Crack Spellbomb will be solid. So let's see here. Bobble. So now I get kind of blown out by Brainstorm. My opponent knows that. How do I play around that fact? I think I just fire off this Fatal Push. Let's see if the opponent has to Brainstorm. That would be very annoying. Okay, I get Dazed here. That's acceptable. My opponent... Huh. So what does this tell us? The opponent slow rolled this Bobble activation. That means if I have land Bowmaster, which I obviously don't, but then I could have then I could have punished a little bit here. So that's probably because of the days, or I guess the opponent having a second lightning bolt, that is. All right, so I'm gonna respond here and kill the Tamiyo before the opponent draws the card. I think that's just good timing. Well, Candling Island Tamiyo, so this has like Core Steel written all over it. Let's see if I'm right about that one. Here's Preordain, so yes, it could very well be my latest list. The opponent has to pass, and this is exactly where I need to pounce. I need to crack my spell bomb. I think first I need to play another Goyf, and then I need to crack the spell bomb. I'm still going basic here. I want my opponent's wastelands to be bad. Note my opponent has Delirium here. Okay. Ah. So if I crack in response, I don't draw a card. But I keep my Nether Goyf, so I should do that. Should I have played differently here? Let's try and see. What if I fetch before and I pass? No, then I just have to do it on my opponent's upkeep and they can respond. Okay, so well played by my opponent here. I'll clear the graveyard with Spell Bomb and probably... I was thinking about getting Surveil, but I actually think that's bad. I think I should turn off Wasteland. Let me get Swamp here. So I didn't think about Unholy Heat, which is certainly something you should think about. Yeah, let's take that one, because now I kind of ensure myself to have back-to-back relevant plays, and I'm playing against an Is-a deck that will most likely have a tough time against the card Nether Goyf. So I just want to keep up the pressure here. I'm guessing my opponent's hand is at least one Murktide Regent with the way they played. Okay, now they double bolt that one. So that is obviously a very good exchange for me, except for the fact that my opponent is building towards a new Murktide. One card left in hand, though. That's probably that card. Let's play this first in case I get dazed, and then I can use my Surveil with that in mind. Hymn to Torok. So I'm fairly sure my opponent's last card is a Murktide, and that card is uncastable right now. If it's not a Murktide, they will cast whatever next turn. So this is where the opponent, if they can natural draw Volcanic Island, they can play the Murktide. And that would be the worst case scenario for me. I guess even a fetch works, my bad. Okay, so I got a little bit lucky here. Drew Dark Confidant. Let's deploy another Voidwalker and focus on damage. And Graveyard Disruption at the same time. Is that the right logic? Let me think again here. Unblockable damage is really, really nice. Okay, I'm not sure about this play, actually. I think my opponent's hand is Murktide and Brazen Borrower. Let's see. Let's see if that is the case. Looks like we nailed it. Solved the case. So I'm pretty happy with my play here, and now they can play the Murktide, which is an issue. Ooh, I was thankfully I was wrong about the Murktide. My opponent has a Lightning Bolt in... Ooh, Barrogoyf. What a draw. What a draw. Let me keep up the race here. I'm firmly winning the race. My opponent's draw has to be a daze for me to get punished here. I feel like if it's not, I just win the game. Ooh, it was a Druid, maybe. Okay, they mill over the Force of Will. So funnily enough, had I played Barrogoyf before attacking, I would have had a Force of Will in my Void, which might have been better. Play that card. Yeah, I mean, my opponent has one card there. If they have interaction, they will kill here. And I'm going to play the Goyf anyway. So I didn't, yeah, I just lost a little bit of equity here. If my opponent surveils in response into a force, playing this card first is better, then I can kind of hold up my activation and nothing bad can happen. Okay, so I butchered that a tiny bit. Let's see. So I have these 4 cards that I love in the matchup. Do I have anything that I don't like? I think Dark Ritual is not for this matchup. I think this is more about slow and steady rather than trying to be explosives. I think Hymn is very slow. We can probably get rid of those. And then I keep the rest. Okay, I like the look of this. I'm leaning a bit more into the red mana though, so I'll have to fetch some more duels. Pyroblast, this has been true for 20 years, right? When you want Pyroblast against a blue creature deck with Wasteland in it, it gets a little sketchy at times. I'm keeping a couple of spell bombs to keep Murktide in check. I get some more 1 mana and interactive stuff. That's decent. All right, this hand is like bottom of the barrel, but I'm gonna keep this hand. With the way this hand is set up, I don't get any selection with the bauble because I'm priced into, you know, casting one of my cards turn 1. Preordain, so this is either a 1-lander or an opponent wants to guarantee bridging into Cutter. And speaking of Cutter, that is a reason for me to... Okay, so that is a reason for me to Thoughtseize turn 1. So actually, with that swamp being drawn, I can actually get in a little selection here. So do I want the card on top of my deck, or do I want a new card? I want that card, so I will go swamp, Thoughtseize. If I didn't like that card, I would have went fetch. So let's see here. Hopefully I can annoy my opponent here at the very least. Okay, so I get dazed. That's, you know, whatever. My opponent can replay the island. I draw into the Pyroblast. Voidwalker is a good one. So let me crack for bad lands and play a Voidwalker. The cool thing is my opponent does not have Lightning Bolt up. So they would either have to daze or force or untap and use a mana to bolt. Okay, they force to will that card. So this looks like building towards Murktide Regent to me. Which I'm not super sad to see based on, you know, Pyroblast in my hand. Okay, my opponent has a weird hand. It was indeed a 1-lander. Here's a Wasteland for later. Let me pass here, looking to surveil end of turn. This Wasteland could be very strong, even though it looks bad right now, but it could be very strong in the future. I think this is like an underrated aspect of Wasteland where you have to kind of realize this game is going to go long, right? So even if I 3 turns from now wasteland my opponent out of the game, that's going to be good enough. So let me Fatal Push that end of turn. Let me go get a Theater. And I think now it's time for me to find action. Something like a Goyf would be incredible. Something like a Goyf was on top of my deck. Love to see it. I think I want to disguise the Wasteland here. And I guess if my opponent Force Wills this, I will Pyroblast back. So 2 reasons to play like this. Worth noting is Unholy Heat actually takes care of it. I'll hang around on... Should I hang on to this fetch? Let me try to think. Revolt? Will my opponent have any 3s or 4s I'm looking to kill? Or should I simply just thin my deck? I guess I'll thin my deck here. Badlands, draw. I draw Thoughtseize. That is incredible. I'm not sure. Let me think about this. I don't think the Tamiyo matters. There is this line of, what if my opponent chump blocks? Let's have a look at the types here. What are we missing? We have Artifact Creature. We have Sorcery Instant Land. So let's take a look at my opponent's graveyard. Creature. Okay, so my opponent has Delirium, so they might kill the Goyf. Okay, I'm gonna I'm actually going to do it here. So I'm going to Thoughtseize my opponent, kill the Tamiyo, and connect. Because I don't want to lose to, like, getting unholy heated. Okay, this hand is atrocious. Let's try and think about the cards that actually beat me here. Cutter, pass. Is that good? Not really. I think it's the best card. Okay, let's Thoughtseize the Cutter. Let's destroy my opponent's blocker and then connect with Goyf. I can hit every good creature in my deck here. I think this is a good way to play. Mill 5. Dark Confidant. Or maybe, let's see. So this card is gone. I could get bolted. How about Orcish Bowmasters? That leaves behind a body. And make this a faster clock. Because I ping my opponent down to 12 and then I have 6 power. I'm not sure. Bowmaster. Ping my opponent. I'm in a very good spot here. Not sure how my opponent gets out of this. The perfect brainstorm, and this is exactly why Bowmaster is the best, because the opponent will need a perfect brainstorm to win this game. Yeah, the opponent has had enough here. Yeah, my opponent was stuck on one land, and I drew relatively well after my not so good opener. I did get to showcase the power of, you know, push Thoughtseize Pyroblast, just cheap stuff to do all the time, right? Okay, nice start to the video. Let's keep it up. All right, sorry for interrupting the video. I just wanted to mention a quick word about my Metafy. These are good examples of the last articles I've uploaded. Deck dumps here. I tweaked a lot of 75s to beat Reanimator. I also had some basically insight how to beat Reanimator. The deck dumps were awesome. Then I had a Jeskai Wizards deck. Full guide, lots of tricks against the field. Same for Izzet Cutter, same for Mono Red Prison, same for Dimir Reanimator. Basically update very competitive 75s over here. So yeah, I just wanted to mention a quick word about my Metafy. You can join right now with the code ECO50 to save 50% on the first month of your Booksmart Baron subscription. It would be awesome to see you over there. Thanks so much for watching so far, and let's get back into crushing some Legacy. All right, round 2 here. I will indeed play first. No black sources. Let's click the mulligan button. This hand is fine, so I can put away a land and play creature turn 1, 2, 3. That is, you know, that counts. That's allowed. Let's put back a fetch and go Badlands Nethergoyf. It's a little bit annoying that this deck has to worry about developing red mana game 1, but I just found Molten Collapse to be such a powerful tool. So Dream Scenarios, my opponent plays a 1 toughness creature, and I guess the second best scenario is the opponent's on some kind of blue deck where Bowmaster will take some heat, and I can, you know, either take advantage of that or connect with Goyf as a result. Worth noting is here just how powerful the card Mishra's Bauble is for a draw like this. Like, it just grows your creatures for absolutely no price. If my opponent just passes here, I'll definitely play this Bowmaster out. Okay, bolt onto that one while that is possible. I do like that priority. I draw another Nethergoyf. I feel like this is time to play my Bowmasters. And I also feel like it's time for me to fetch, because Stifle is in the metagame. This could come back to bite me, but I do like spending my mana and making my opponent play exactly this at bad days, which hopefully clears the way for Barrow Boy. I think this is a very normal play pattern in modern day Magic, where maybe Tamiyo is not the best card. Maybe Tamiyo, you know, gets killed, so the next thing can survive, but maybe that thing is not vital either, and then you end up with, I don't know, uncontested Murktide Regent or whatever the case may be. Magic is a lot about presenting stuff for your opponent to worry about. Like radar noise is what I call it. And then inevitably end up with something in play. So I think my time is now to slam this Goyf. Ooh, Dark Ritual. Huh. So funnily enough, we saw Spell Pierce out of the other guy. I think this is where I just not only do I beat days, but I you know, I beat I get to play two things. So I think it's fine. This will get forced though. If they have it, obviously. And then I'm left with a 3-4 against my opponent. I think if this gets forced, I'm in trouble. If this resolves, I think I'm in good shape. So right now the opponent is worried about some 2-drop coming out of the last remaining mana here. So what's the dream here? I guess the dream is Desperation Brainstorm for me. They gave it a good think here about second Bowmaster. All right, I get to develop a couple of creatures here. Even just land Murktide trades with the Goyf, which is not ideal. So yeah, a little bit of mulligan, a little bit of ritual action. And just tempo doing the virtual card advantage thing. That's also been a thing for a lot of years. The opponent can play from your mana sources, so they're quote-unquote ahead on cards. I'm thinking about attacking with both. I think attacking with both is a... Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I feel like those guys will just trade. Is that good for me? Wow. That is a draw and a half. Okay. So my opponent could have Daze, but I don't think I'm allowed to play around that, especially with, you know, Wasteland being a card. Let me attack with that one alone. I expect my opponent to block. Here comes Goyf, and I'm really crossing my fingers. Second Daze doesn't hit me here. Okay, so now I have some 3/4s against the Bolt deck. Let's see what my opponent can follow up with here. Something like Cutter plus a spell would be, you know, annoying, but I still keep up the pace. Something like Double Bolt would be acceptable. Okay. So my opponent's plan there might have changed a little bit. They're a bit hasty on the land drop. Usually you want to fire off your Ponder before making a move on a land. You know, maybe you want to Wasteland. Maybe you want to play a fetch lane instead, so you have one more card in the graveyard, or you can Surveil, or whatever the case may be. That by the way, puts my Barrow to a 4/5, so if it connects, dig slightly deeper. Also worth noting, last turn my opponent kept a land in their graveyard. Which is... might have something to say with regards to Delirium. So now my Goyf trades for a bolt and a block. Oh my god. My opponent is not going to like this. Let's see. I'm fairly sure that my opponent is going to block plus bolt. How do I like that? I think that's the question I need to ask myself. How do I like that? Can I do anything about it? Maybe I can... if a turn cycle goes by, maybe I can... you know, an instant randomly is in the opponent's graveyard and I can... you know, it's a forced attack. Is that crazy? Could be a little bit crazy. Okay, I'm gonna attack with both here, but I'm really not sure about that if I was wise guying my way out of something here. There's like such a high chance. Yeah, exactly. So interestingly enough here, my opponent will lose to Bowmaster in the spot. So they should probably commit the block here in the future. Okay, so this happens that I was fairly sure was going to happen, but I didn't quite have the courage to follow through on it. Play Goyf. Let's see what the opponent, still no days or force. That's pretty good for me. So the Bolt plus Chandler was a good, that was a good exchange for me. The Ritual was obviously a bad exchange for me. Mulliganing was bad. Let's see, Murktide was an even trade. I'm catching up on cards here. But I will say it certainly helps drawing bangers after banger. Murktide is the big one that trades with Baragoyf. Let's see. Here's Cutter. Here's Tamiyo. Okay, so now the opponent has some chum blockers going on. Even another Bolt would actually be awesome. So I guess I play this land because I could surveil into a new type. That type should be Artifact. I mean, I don't think I can stop attacking here. So I guess let's see the Bolt. Let's see the Bolt, buddy. Let's see. I need to exile 4 different types. Land, creature, instant. So if I hit another one, I can play it. Okay, I guess I do that. All right, I don't do that. So I have to pass, which also means Lightning Bolt kills my creature, but I feel like my opponent would have responded. Yeah. So the opponent could be in a little bit of trouble here. I held on to this one through combat, the fetch, to basically play around Bolt, but then when they didn't finish me off, I just wanted to dig for the 4th type, second main phase, so I could flash back another Goyf. Didn't get there this time, though. I think it's very important to play with, when you have Surveil in your deck, to play like that with your Goyfs. Rearrain is pretty good at setting up double spelling here, I must say. So it looks like the opponent has a good shot here. Especially if they start to get a walker going. 2 to the top. Okay. That's cool. So now the opponent will flip Tamiyo. No, you don't flip Tamiyo. Never mind. Oh. Let's see if I can draw a spell here. Okay, they on purpose don't flip Tamiyo. Got it. Land. So I think now I just want to attack with Nethergoyf and that's it. Maybe even that is a bad attack. Trading with a Chandler. I don't even know if that's good. The opponent, yeah, this attack is not good. I don't know why I did this. The opponent knows that if I had something, I would have attacked with both, so bad attack is bad. Okay, I'm very happy with this outcome. The opponent basically realized they didn't want to get blown out by a removal spell, so they chump blocked. Okay, we take that. Here comes another cutter into another spell, and now I'm really in trouble. Now I'm really in trouble. Petty theft onto that one. 2 monks. Okay. Can't say I love this. So hopefully, yeah, double cutter is awesome. Attacking for 5. This deck is not very good at coming back from, you know, disadvantageous board states. Dark Confidant. I mean, I'll play that card. So let's go Goyf. Let's go attack. Opponent with the chump block. Then I play Dark Confidant, which may or may not be a good idea. Okay, so let's see if the opponent can double spell me this turn as well. That would be brutal. Cracking a clue is good for me, I think. Chandler has to attack. That is also good for me, I think. I kind of have to get into this position where my opponent has to chum block faster than, you know, they develop. Goyf life gain is going to hopefully stabilize the Confidant life loss. And then, you know, the card advantage will bury my opponent. With that said, Murktide with haste here is very, very dangerous. Obviously not possible this turn, but just in general, that kind of, you know, play pattern with Cutter. The opponent's done a good job beating 3 Goyfs, or at least giving it a darn good try. That's oftentimes something you hear from Izzet players, right? That they need solutions to Goyf. Also worth noting, the opponent had a 3-mana Brazen on Adventure. So that was their first spell. So I just take it their hand is very bad, but I don't know. Let's see. Is this Okay, so this is Murktide Regent, which is very powerful, obviously. And then the opponent is trying to exile 4 cards to keep Delirium. Might as well tab out. Yeah, I like that play. So this would be a fine time for a Molten Collapse. Yeah, here's the 5/5. Oh boy, did my opponent just send a Channeler into the zone? Lost Delirium? That's not good. Yeah, that is not good, opponent. That is indeed a whoopsie. Let's draw from Dark Confidant. Orcish Bowmaster is very, very strong. And Molten Collapse. Yeah, I'm a G. I'm too strong. So... wait a minute. Let me read this card. So... I can... if I Bowmaster... yeah, if I Bowmaster my own... wait a minute. So if the Dark Confidant dies on combat... yeah, that's not going to happen. Never mind. Draw target creature or Planeswalker. Let's kill that card. Put a sorcery into my graveyard. Yeah, very awesome draw from me here. And then I can finish the job. Oof, I think this game would be a bit more exciting if my opponent didn't, you know, mismanage the graveyard. So let's see. We have practice in this matchup. So I cut Dark Ritual. I cut him, and I add those 4. Okay, that's cool. All right. Still haven't seen any Inquisitions. I've seen every other card in my deck, I think. I would have loved to see a bobble that game. Just throwing those Goyfs across the board would be incredible. And yeah, once again, kudos to my opponent for playing very well against the initial onslaught that game. Onslaught of Goyfs, finding a good solution with Murktide and Channeler plus Bolt. This hand is an obvious keep against the Lightning Bolt deck. The card Cutter is actually a big problem for this list. I think if my opponent goes Tamiyo, I kill it. They go Ponder. Okay. So now I think I should fetch Badlands and deploy another Goyf. There's something about Stifle being in some lists where you just have to alter your play patterns a little bit so you don't get blown out. That's basically a big reason why I care so much about, you know, keeping up with the metagame. So here is obviously not optimal because I would have maybe loved to fetch Chevelle with that later. So the good thing about this Nether Goyf is if my opponent bolts it, they can't, you know, Cutter. But if they have Cutter plus Bauble, my Nether Goyf is already, you know, outclassed. I'm hoping to get into a spot where my opponent has to develop a little bit more. I get to Wasteland a Volcanic. And then I kind of play the game at my own pace. I end up Pyroblasting a Murktide and getting there with some glorified Cured Apes. But yeah, my hand is definitely losing to the top, I don't know, top third of my opponent's ranges here. That's how Magic goes sometimes. Sometimes your mediocre hand, you know, has to play against another mediocre hand. Okay, so the opponent chose to go that route. And then play Tamiyo. Okay, so now I'm going to kill Tamiyo. Molten Collapse is a good one for later. Yeah. Let's Pyroblast that card and try and attack for 2. I don't love playing Pyroblast onto a Tamiyo, but, you know, has to be done sometimes. I'm once again in the same situation where I want to play a turn of either double Goyf or Goyf plus Wasteland. Okay, this Brainstorm is fine. Again, Mishra's Bauble, by the way, would have been incredible, and I don't think it's realistic for me to lose the game if that is a 3-4 coming in. That is the small concession for Reanimator being a deck that you can't run 4 Baubles. Expect this to die. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, cool. Okay. So that's decent for me, I think. Dark Confidant is awesome. Do I want Dark Confidant or do I want 2 guys? I think I want 2 guys. How do you feel about playing the first one into Daze? If it gets dazed, I can attack. I think that's reasonable. Does not get dazed. Is this a spot where I want to wasteland my opponent instead? Okay. I'll actually wasteland my opponent here because they're a Cutter deck, and the Cutter deck might needs to go something like, you know, 3rd land, Cutter, Spell. And also, if they just don't have the next land, I'm just really crushing. Ooh, looks like I got a little bit lucky here. So my opponent needs to attack this turn, which is very good for me, because then I don't have to use my Collapse to get rid of the Channeler. I'm trying to think about my next turn. As long as Nether Goyf is a 2-powered creature, playing Dark Confidant is going to be better, right? The opponent keeps those cards. They found a land. It was a wasteland. Huh. Okay, I see what's going on here. So they have land Murktide in hand, looking to stabilize, which they very well could do. I'll play this Nether Goyf first. If I get dazed, the other guys attack for more. But now I'm in trouble because both of my Badlands are gone, and I have a couple of red spells in hand. and I only have the Theater in my deck alongside 8 fetches. So the opponent might have done it here. Okay, so this turn, that was good for me. The opponent still needs to attack. Surgical. Okay, I wonder what they play into Surgical. Maybe they saw I was very skilled at drawing many Goyfs. I'm in another spot where land is incredible, Bauble is incredible, Spell Bomb is incredible, Fatal Push is incredible. Even Thoughtseize and Inquisition are awesome. All red cards are bad, 3-drops are bad, 2-drops are bad. So it's like, I don't know, maybe half my deck are awesome draws. I take that any day of the week. It's very sad that this is turn 5 and my opponent can still Lightning Bolt another Goyf. Very, very sad about that one. So the good thing is, one is gone, but the other guys just attack for 6 now. I think this is time for me to find a live draw, otherwise I think my opponent stabilizes with a Merc. What if I draw a fetch land? Then I probably have to fetch this Surveil thing. Okay, I'm at 13. I'll attack my opponent down to 5. Let's see. Inquisition of Kozilek is probably not the card I wanted to see, but it could do the trick. Oh, wow. So the opponent did play my list with the Molten Collapses. That's cool. That's cool to see. I think I'm supposed to take Corey's. Maybe not. Let's see. My opponent has a must attack. I'm attacking them down to 3. So no, the Cutter doesn't even help. I'm trying to think about how I lose this game. Because the opponent's creature has to attack unless they spike a Murktide. Okay, got it. Because then they can remove Delirium and then have chump blockers. I see, I see. Okay, so let's assume the opponent draws Murktide Regent. Which card would I rather not play against in a game like that? And I think the answer to that question is Corey Steelcutter. Let's attack for 8. The opponent's at 3. This is a must attack, remember? So this has to be Murktide Regent or I win the game. Not even, you know, Cutter into a blocker does it. The opponent's at 3 thanks to the sorcery. There's a blocker. So now, I don't know what the opponent needs to find. I guess Unholy Heat is a card? Unholy Heat is a card. And now they see the bad news, and here's the concession. Okay, that was a sweet match. I was sad about the opponent's, oversight in game 1. But other than that, I really like the gameplay here. That's just, you know, pretty cool to see playing from one land, getting the job done with some 4/5s here. And yeah, I mean, I would have killed for a Mishra's Bauble these past games, so maybe it's time to find room for a 4th. Let's see about that one. All right, let's play one more before we wrap up the video. All right, round 3. I'm playing black-red midrange, and I have a cool opener here. So let's see how we play this. So I need that bauble to find me second land, those baubles, rather. So maybe, what if I go look at my opponent's deck, look at my deck? Does that even change? Am I keeping any non-land here? That's probably going to be the question, though. Okay, let's have a look at our opponent's deck, see what's going on. Bauble. Okay, so I'm up against Lance. Lance, that is an annoying deck. Life from the Loam. Maybe I should trust my deck here. Maybe I should develop the Spell Bomb and trust my deck. Yeah, I have a strong feeling that's going to be optimal. Swamp, Spell Bomb. Yes, I upkeep this Bauble look. So, oh, sorry, draw step rather. So, look at the next card as well. Besage, sure. So, I have two draws coming, sorry. Here's exploration. I can't imagine lands being a matchup. I'm winning. Okay, sure. I even cut my collapses from the deck. Sorry, added collapses in place of Sheoldred's Edict. Ooh. Yeah, that is not exactly how we drew it up. So I did, in the mission of playing out the Nihil Spellbomb, I did give up the Surveil. I think with the Loam in the mix, I think it's very reasonable to play like this. Sometimes you just hit, 3 spells in a row and it, doesn't pan out. That's just how Magic goes sometimes. I like the spot though. There's Rumble. So Cage means I can't play another Goyf from the yard. Basically. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, 2 Loams in my opponent's graveyard. I mean, I'm cracking the Spellbomb no matter what end of turn here. I think my opponent also knows that. So they don't have any more land, which is kind of interesting. So let's crack this Spellbomb. A black. No land. Okay, Dark Ritual lets me play the game. So Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, Dark Confidant. Alternatively, so my opponent has 5 spells in hand, obviously. Oh, they would have played a land out. Unless they just want to... Oh, maybe they're slow rolling the combo. They want to play around Wasteland. I'm not sure about that. If I Voidwalker first, I can get rid of the Loam forever. Which might be a way to win this game. The Confidant basically gets me going. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Let's see if it works. Voidwalker first, because I want the exile thing. Yeah. So right now, Loam doesn't do anything because Voidwalker's in play. So I should take Crop Rotation. Okay. Yeah, I didn't fully connect the dots until I saw the hand. Voidwalker basically makes Loam a dead draw, so now my opponent has to rumble and find the combo naturally. I bet they'll take a stage here, right? Yeah, they take a stage, so develop that card. And I don't draw land, which is unfortunate. Let me Thoughtseize once more, and now it's basically a clock between... I guess I knew about these cards. They were atrociously bad. So I could get into a spot where I want to Loam, trade in the Voidwalker for a Loam, which is very funny. That situation might come up. So these cards are available for me. Ooh, I could trade it in for a Needle. I didn't think about that. Sure. Your opponent just discards Excess Besage. So that means no Diamond, no Besage, no Loam. The opponent has what? Mox Diamond, 1 unknown. Here's Wasteland. So in theory, I could keep up Wasteland forever. That is probably what I'm gonna do while I attack for 3. The other plan is to play Dark Confidant, but I don't think that's the way to play. Now comes the other question. No. The opponent can copy a swamp. Never mind. So now I just sit pretty here. If my opponent activates, I respond. If they don't, we just sit here. So now a wasteland in response. Yeah, this game is super weird. Also, am I supposed to push any of these spawns? Ooh, that card can race me. So I'm certainly not supposed to push. I totally forgot about that card. That's funny. So now I think my opponent's hand is bricks, basically. Is this a turn where I loam back Wasteland and Mire? This game is so hard. Attack to 11, play another Voidwalker, then I need 2 more swings. I can push 1, I can play a blocker. Saga Chapter 3 can also go and get Expedition Map to try and complete the combo. I'm gonna trust the Voidwalkers here, and I'm really not confident in that. It's very possible there's one card in my opponent's hand I should know about. Is that Otawara? Okay. My opponent's last card was Otawara. It's very annoying. So now I feel like my opponent's winning the race. Mox Diamond into the dirt. My opponent has a spell in hand. Let's see which spell that is. Let's see which spell that is. Disruptor Flute, which is very funny, onto the Voidwalker that was just bounced. So now I can't activate this one, I can't cast that one. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool, I must say. Another Goyf. That sucks. I don't think my opponent runs Shadow Spear. Let's see. So, I mean, I could push 1. I think it's better to play Dark Confidant. If my opponent has Shadow Spear, I'm cooked. Wow, this game was it's certainly too hard for me, that's for sure. Lots of action here. And unique situations, right? Voidwalker shutting down my opponent's deck. Me being on a low resource. Let's see here. I expect the haste one. Yeah, that one. So now my opponent can attack for a 13. I'm obviously not going to let them do that. I'm going to block that card and go to 9. And then my plan is to draw land. Untapped land, that is. Wanted with 1 card we don't know about. Tabernacle. That is probably going to do it. I can attack my opponent to... Yeah, I should pay here. And now I need to draw Dark Ritual. Yeah, there's the land. There's the land. Yeah, this is a crazy game. So now I get to push And then what about the Goyf? Does that even stabilize now? Yeah, it does. Oh boy. Okay, we're still in this game. So now I can push the opponent. This is the game that keeps on giving. This is super cool to see. So now I can push this card. A with a forest. Now I have to let my Voidwalker die. I could have gone to built the other one. Is that better? Yeah, I guess it was better because I can theoretically draw land here. Okay, so it didn't end up hurting me. Goyf. My opponent can make a haster. I'll trade off, gain 5, lose some. The problem is my opponent can do that again next turn. I don't even know if I stabilize here. This game is cool. I'm happy I have this on camera. Just a lots of you like this is game 1. Maze of Ith. That is a crazy card. Let's see. Prevent all combat damage that we be dealt to and by. So now my opponent wins the game if they use their Maze of Ith to on their own creature. What a game. If they use this on their own construct, it will not be dealt any damage, and I lose to these 6. Yeah, Magic's beautiful sometimes. Okay. Okay. We take that. Dark Ritual. That doesn't actually let me double spell, so we have to continue down this path. Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith for the win on your side of the table. Untap target attacking creature. That will be their token. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by. Yeah, that works. That works. So now let's see. I'll gain... I think I'll survive at 1 now, which is hilariously funny. Problem is that card can go fetch another Saga. No, don't crag it now, opponent. You're shrinking your constructs. Okay. Okay. This is awesome. All right. Go to sideboarding against lands. And this might be where our deck runs out of luck. Let's see. Molten Collapse is very bad against our opponent. Price of Progress is incredible against our opponent. Hymn to Torok, very bad. Do we have a good one? I guess Meltdown is solid. I need to find one more cut. I guess these pushes are atrocious. Molten Collapse at least can kill some stuff. Very bad. Okay, the lands matchup needs help here because I have to have either Collapse, Fairies, Hymns. Yeah, I need some bad cards in my deck here. So Fairy is kind of like a counter a Loam. I wouldn't mind 1 copy of that card. 2 Collapses. Not good. Bowmaster's even bad. Yeah, this deck is very bad into lands. Okay, we can submit this. I wonder how you could optimize this deck if you wanted to get some percentages against lands. Okay, this hand is cool. I think my most recent change was I removed Shelter's Edict for Molten Collapse, but that just looks very bad into any kind of Merit Lage, you know? So here I think the play is to go turn 1 Goyf, then turn 2 Voidwalker. That's the best mana usage. Let's see what the opponent's working with. Copy a Rumble. Let's see what I'm working with. A bad Swamp. So bad lands. Dark Ritual, Baragoyf. You're up. Maze of Ith, biggest enemy. Swamp is atrocious. Ritual is atrocious. So now I need to spike some spell so I can double spell again. I guess Baragoyf does a decent job of doing that. So let's see here. Turn 1 exploration, and I get wasted. Okay, that's not that bad. I have a Baragoyf going. So let's start with a Baragoyf attack. 3 is not the biggest Goyf, but I mean, we can't really complain here. Feel like Voidwalker is a way to win the game. Let's see what the opponent is working with. Puppy versus Saga. Yeah, the other game was just so cool. The opponent drew Otawara into Disruptor Flute to delay me. That game, that was just crazy. And then the Saga into the Saga was also pretty cool. So let's see here. Malevolent Rumble is a very annoying blocker for Baragoyf. I actually didn't think about that. But that's like just so good deck building, right? This card just solves Edict effects, Baragoyf, you know, it just solves a lot of things. So now I have to look at the Voidwalker. You may play it. So now I can play a Wasteland if I want to. Is that what I have to do? Do I have to Wasteland my opponent? That means I don't play a second Voidwalker. No, I don't think I can do that. I think I have to play like this and kind of trust my deck. I think if my opponent has that Merit Lage lined up, that's just what it is. Okay, I connect here. That's pretty decent. So it looks like my opponent needs that mana, so maybe that is my go sign to Bowmaster, the 1/1. If I don't get the 1/1 here, the opponent can fizzle the ability, but since they didn't block, yeah, I don't know. Also worth noting is I'm above 20, so I need 2 hits to die. There's the card I didn't want to see, and then some. Okay, so now I have 3 from the Voidwalker. And next turn 6 from the Voidwalkers, and then finish my opponent with a Bowmaster ping, if everything lines up here. Let's see if I'm right about that one. So play Voidwalker. Play land. Pass. Right now it looks like I'm short. So now I will learn if Shadow Spear is in my opponent's sideboard, and I will have to surrender. So let's see. What if the opponent has any kind of interaction here? Block Goyf. If they can, like, bounce a Voidwalker or whatever, I'm screwed. But the alternative is just losing here, because I don't have any answer to that card. So there's not much to do there. Yeah, let's see. What do I need for a playable lands matchup? I probably have to rethink my removal suite. So Molten Collapse might be better against, yes, any other deck. But I think I have to go back to the Sheldred's Edict. Here's Expedition map. So my opponent can now go get Maze of Ith. And then attack. No, then I still have 20 damage. Oh, sorry, 7 damage. Yeah, I don't know what the opponent's going to do here. Here's Maze of Ith. Okay. So if my opponent has any kind of life gain, I'm in trouble. Okay, so I go to 6. Oh, wait, the opponent can untap that card. Does that change anything? No, I don't think it does. Let's see what this is. Crop rotation. Sure. Let's check. Okay, Tabernacle. All right, let's surveil. Put it into the yard. And now what happens if I pay for... Am I just dead now because of Maze of Ith? So first of all, I can Wasteland the Maze of Ith here with a Voidwalker, I think. Let's see how this works. Until end of turn, hopefully. Okay. So let me crack this card. Point at the Wasteland. And now I will pay for the 2 big guys and win, right? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, this is that one. So pay A1, yes. I don't want to pay for that one, I think. Or maybe I might as well. Let's see. I think I should just pay. Very complicated for me, apparently. So pay, and then this one is already gone, so it's a no. And then pay for the Goyf, yes. Draw. Wasteland the Maze of Ith. Ah, that's a crazy game as well. Okay. Okay. So let's see here. I'm just always trying to figure out if I could have a better setup. Is there any crossover here? So obviously the Price of Progress crossover is awesome. The Meltdown crossover is awesome. And then we have these 3 sketchy cards. They could be, if I optimize my sideboard and 75 a little bit, this could be 2 Edicts, and then I'm down to 1 absolute shitter. But, you know, the Bowmasters are also very bad, even though they just won the game, I guess, by clearing that 1/1. I think drawing this fairy is close to atrocious, but I think it's better than my alternative. I really think Molten Collapse is bad. All right, I'll submit and I'll try and get lucky here. Game 3, last game of the video. I'm happy that you guys joined me so far. This has been very fun. I've had some cool games lately. All right. Dark Ritual, Inquisition, play Voidwalker. This is good against a lot of hands, and the Wasteland should also be a live card. I will, of course, get trounced by, you know, good hands, I guess. I'll probably have to fetch Basic Swamp here. Yeah, Dark Ritual is insane against decks like this. You have Maya. So let's see. If my opponent has a diamond draw, could be in trouble. Okay. Another Ritual? That's probably insane. So, how to sequence this? Do I want my opponent to cast Crop Rotation before they know if they're that they're getting Voidwalkered? Or do I want them to cast a Crop Rotation in response to a Voidwalker before they know they're going to get Inquisitioned? That's kind of the thing, right? Let's fire this Inquisition off. Let's see what the opponent's working with. That is incredible. That is incredible. So let's Ritual again. Let's play double Voidwalker. So worth noting is this line is very bad against Tabernacle, but I'm not sure that's something I can worry about. It's mainly just an observation. And now I basically only have those Voidwalkers alongside a Wasteland. And I'll play pretty sneaky with that Wasteland. Let's see. So I don't know anything about my opponent's hand. They develop a Dark Depths. I feel like I should play this as fast as humanly possible. And now I think I just have one plan. That is to attack. Did I make a bad play there? Should I have Wastelanded? Let's see. If the opponent had a Crop Rotation... Okay, never mind. They do have that one. Okay, the opponent played well here, unfortunately. Yeah, I lost because I passed a turn. That was a very rough one. Because... So let me just explain this before I close down the video. So last turn, the opponent had these three lands. Oh, sorry. Diamond, Dark Depths, Yavimaya. If they tap the... whatever. They tap the Depths. They tap the Yavimaya. So they have 2 green. They Crop Rotation. 1 green left. They find this card. Then they can use the 1 floating plus the green from... No, wait a minute. The 1 floating plus the diamond to activate, and they would have just done that and passed the turn, right? And they make the 20/20. They've seen no answers for that card. They know I play Wasteland, right? So I knew they didn't have Crop Rotation. So with me passing here, I lose to a slow line. So yeah, that's a very, very good thing to not have happen to you in the future. I don't think I can do anything about this. Needle, my opponent will respond. And I lose to the 20/20. Okay. Yeah, that's... If I'm super sharp, I pick up on my opponent passing the turn there, and they have like a slow actual Thespian stage draw. But yeah, I wasn't smart enough. That's cool. The deck had the tools to do well here. I'm happy with this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'll be back soon with more legacy action. If you like the look of this deck, you should definitely check out my Metafy. I dropped recently 2 articles with 5 different 75s. This is one of them. Just a competitive deck ready to take on Reanimator, ready to take on the rest of the field. And if you played a little bit better than me, maybe you even end up winning all your matches instead of just 2 out of 3. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. It's awesome. See you next time.